So it has been a month since Baldur's Gate 3 released, and you are still looking for a review. Well, look no further, because this might just be the review for you. This is a completely spoiler-free review. I will not really talk about the story, and I'm only going to be showing footage from the first few hours of gameplay. Baldur's Gate 3 takes heavy inspiration from the world of D&D, so fans of D&D will be familiar with the setting, the classes, and the overall gameplay. As you will see later on, this heavy inspiration comes with big benefits and big downsides for the overall experience. Please subscribe to help me make more content like this. Help is all greatly appreciated. Character creation is not the greatest on an individual level. However, there's enough choice due to the massive number of races, sub-races, and general options per race. So even if you cannot design your character's looks to the most minute detail, you will still most likely be left with a character that you thoroughly enjoy. I personally think that the lack of sliders might have been a deliberate decision so that we do not break certain scenes which rely on clever camera angles to get the animations to work. A smart decision that the devs made is that picking a race is way less important in this game compared to the real tabletop D&D. However, there's still plenty of flavor as each race and each class gets unique dialogue options. Visually, the game is really good looking. The character model fidelity is very high, and for a game that you are spending looking at this aerial view, it's actually impressive how they look up close. But it's not just the character models that are this well done, it's even the general environment. Most areas have a good amount of clutter and items and objects, creating a world that feels almost lived in by the NPCs. And the most important thing for 2023, the game is actually optimized. On a 3070 Ti on ultra settings, I was getting a consistent frame rate between 60 and 90 FPS depending on the zone, and there was rarely any drop below that. Trailing off of the graphics is the zone design. You would think D&D is a very generic world that you see in all of those fantasy isekais, but no, it is actually incredibly unique. There were many times where I would just have to stop and take in the view. The world looked so unique, from the crashed Nautiloid ship to the Druid Cove to the towns and fortresses raided by goblins. It was an absolutely incredible experience. All those zones I just mentioned, that is for Act 1 alone, and that is nothing to say for Baldur's Gate City itself. That is its own whole beast. Next up is the voice acting and the sound in the game. Let me just say that the voice actors have done an absolutely stunning job in this game. They convey the emotions of the characters perfectly, and that is even more true for the main party members.
Avernus was never my home. It was my prison. I'm free now, and I'm never going back!
Even the narrator seems to be loving the role.
Today's episode of Baldur's Gate 3 is sponsored by a mental breakdown and the number 2.
Nobody talks to me. Nobody ever talks to me. I'm only the fucking dungeon master. It's fine. It's fine. You all just have conversations with each other. Mocap bastard.
The audio team did a fantastic job. The soundtracks convey the emotion of whichever area you're in, and the combat soundscape is phenomenal. You feel so powerful when some of those attacks hit. Now for the most important main section of the game, that being the gameplay. The gameplay is good, but it is the weakest part without a doubt due to taking too much inspiration from D&D. To explain what I mean, we need to look back at Larian Studios' last game, Divinity Original Sins 2. In that game, spells were guaranteed to hit, so you never had to rely on luck to make sure that you could pass an encounter. It relied purely on skill to get you through. Also, elemental effects and combinations have been greatly toned down in this game compared to Divinity 2. So because of that, you don't have areas swept by fire or water or lightning, and it just feels a bit more simplified and bare bones. Then for the fighters, or martial classes as they're called in D&D, they are so bare bones and boring compared to the spellcasters. The spellcasters can disable people, you can control their positioning, and you've just got so much utility and fun spells you can whip out. Then you go to the martial classes, and some of them just feel like you run in, you attack, you get your extra attack, and that's your turn. This is not to say that the combat is bad, but it's just to say that I've seen the potential of this genre, and I know it can be much more exciting than this. The second major part of gameplay is the dialogue system and talking to people, and it is incredible what they did in this game. It is so much fun. You have so many options, you can handle things in so many different ways, and the system I'm a bit mixed on, but I do tend to like, is that when you try intimidate or persuade a person, you have to roll for it, which creates situations which aren't always static and can give you a chance to muck up or succeed. The only downside is that this can encourage save scumming, and for those unfamiliar, save scumming is when you reload again and again hoping that you get the outcome you want to get. So I think if you handle it like the game intends, it's really good. But ultimately it's up to you to play the way you want to. In conclusion, I would say Baldur's Gate is honestly one of the best games they have released all year. I would not be surprised if it ends up being the Game of the Year contender. The game has so much content in it that it is unreal. Just Act 1 alone took about 30 to 40 hours for me to do, and it seems to be a similar case for other people that I've seen on the internet. I will award the game a 3 out of Baldur's Gate 3.